Thank you for that. Our first item is public expression, and will staff describe how members of the public can raise their hand to be recognized and pulled from the waiting room to speak on any matters not on today's agenda. No action will be taken on any items brought forward through public expression today. And I'm asking, is there any members of the public in the waiting room waiting to come forward? If so, raise your hand. We will wait until we see our EO, Uma Hinman, come forward. Hopefully she's not out in the hall still taking the protest vote. Clerk Meadows, do you have a way to contact our EO and let her know the meeting has begun?
I'm in the process of doing so right now.
Thank you much. Go ahead, Scott.
So about a half an hour ago, we all received an email said that there's a steady flow of protest drop-offs this morning. And if we need to continue the hearing to allow staff for that time, we should consider the date. So if we were to consider it, if we could talk about it now while we're vamping for time, she suggests Wednesday, this Wednesday, the 11th at 10, or Monday, the 15th at 10 a.m. They would typically hold over to the next meeting, but they're trying to meet the December 1st Department of Equalization deadline.
I'll be available both days.
I'm only available on Wednesday.
I'm available on either.
I'm only available on Wednesday.
Wednesday's a better day for me as well this week.
I'll make it work.
So will I. Mari, I recognize you. Go ahead.
Just got notice from a member of the public that the Zoom meeting hasn't been opened for attendees. Maybe we're waiting for our executive officer to do that.
Yeah. Well, we are holding public expression open and not moving our agenda at this time until such time as we have public expression. So as soon as Uma can get to her.
There, she's here. She's here now.
Okay.
Sorry about that, everyone. We have a group of protesters in the hallway. Just a moment. Okay, I'm going to let in some our staff and some key folks. We have quite a few people on the call today. And we have about 25 protesters with videos in the hallway who are very upset about the not being able to meet in public.
Thank you, EO Hinman.
Let's see. So I am waiting for our analyst to get on, and also Scott, our attorney.
I am in the meeting, Uma.
Oh, thank you, Larkin.
And I see, are we live right now?
We are live, and we're currently on public expression. We have called to order and conducted roll call. And so we're on item 2, public expression, when we're able to bring people in the waiting room who wish to speak on matters not on today's agenda.
Just so you know, Larkin, you show up as an Uma on my screen as well.
I
Oh,
can
I
rename you.
thank you.
It's
I
okay.
tried to log in to make sure the meeting was going.
Thank you. Boy, interesting times. Okay. Larkin, do you still need a copy of that document? I can print that quickly and bring it to you.
That's okay. I will use the digital. Thank you very much.
EO Hinman, would you please describe how people may raise their hand to speak during public expression and during the hearing itself?
Yes, I think before we do that, what we were planning to do was let all of the folks who are in the waiting room into the meeting so that they can also hear the instructions. If folks start to speak out of turn, then we will mute them or place them back into the waiting room.
Yes, and I understand after a 3-minute time limit, you will also mute after the 3-minute time period has elapsed because there might be quite a few speakers today.
Correct, and I will have that timer. Unfortunately, I don't have it on the screen, but I will keep it on my phone and I will give a 20-second warning and I'll give that direction in a moment.
Thank you.
Okay, I will let folks in.
And I do see several commissioners who are in the waiting room that we should recognize are present.
Yes, I recognize Commissioner Winkle and Commissioner McGordy. And just one more chance for Commissioner Haschak. All right, and then of course, our attorney, Mr. Scott Brown, is present as well. Thank you.
Chair Orth, I can go over the instructions now.
Yes, please
Okay.
do.
Thank you. At the October 4th, 2021 LAFCO meeting, the commission approved the annexation of the city of Ukiah into the Ukiah Valley Fire District. The approval triggered a 30-day reconsideration period followed by a protest hearing. The protest.
Uma, excuse me, we're actually in public expression at the moment.
Oh,
So
I see.
just a general description of how people may raise their hand is called for at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If wishing to speak, please use the raise hand function to indicate your interest in addressing the commission. For those accessing by computer or smartphone, the raise hand function may be selected by clicking or tapping on the icon. For members accessing by telephone, *9 on your keypad raises your hand. Each member of the public wishing to speak will have 3 minutes. A 20-second warning will be given towards the end, and at 3 minutes, the speaker will be muted. When called upon, please unmute yourself and state your name for the record. If participating by Zoom, please mute, unmute by clicking the microphone icon. If participating by phone, please mute, unmute by pressing *6. If you are also watching the live stream via the county's YouTube channel, there is a 10 to 20-second delay. So please, when called upon, mute the YouTube stream to avoid feedback noise.
Thank you very much. So we're now in public expression, so we will recognize any member, any person who wishes to speak to the commission on any item not on today's agenda for up to 3 minutes. And I'll ask staff to recognize anyone who's raising their hand.
Chair, just a comment.
Yes.
I know we talked about it before the public came in, but under the public expression, this is a time for items not on the agenda. We plan on hearing concurrently to the protest, calling of the protest hearing from the public on that item as well.
Thank you. Do we see any members of the public coming forward with their hands raised?
I see no hands raised at this time.
We'll wait the required 20 seconds. Okay, I've counted off 20 seconds, which should be sufficient time for anyone to raise their hands to be recognized. So with that, we'll move our agenda to item 3, the consent calendar. We have 3A, resolution authorizing continued remote meetings per AB 361. I'll turn it over to E.O. Hinman for a description and then look for a motion for the resolution after that.
Thank you, Chair Orris. This draft resolution authorized the continued remote meetings for the period ending, for the next 30 days, for the period ending December 8th. So that would allow for the December 6th meeting to continue as a remote meeting only. The draft agenda is on page 4 of your agenda packet, and I can answer any questions.
Chair Ignacio moves to approve the consent calendar.
Second, Mulhern.
Motion made and moved. Is there any discussion on the item? Anyone who wishes to make a comment may raise their hand, members of the public included.
There's a raised hand. There you go.
There is a raised hand. I see 1689.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't know how to raise my hand in Zoom, so I was unable to raise my hand for public expression.
Then we will go ahead and listen to your public expression, sir.
If I may,
Yes,
if you
Not
are
on the
watching,
agenda.
if you are watching the live stream, can you please mute the live stream?
yep,
YouTube?
yep.
Thank you.
One of the difficulties is this technology and techno health. It was experienced at the city council meeting, trying to get open meetings and not have this techno health for people to go through. We were unable to address our city council because of the technology issues, as well as some of the other problems associated with running these meetings this way, where many people have not been able to participate through the protest forms and this convoluted type of interaction. So I really implore, first I'd like to thank Ms. Hinman. She's been really wonderful at responding. No one else on this commission list has responded to anything, and there's no public member. Mr. Ward has not responded or reached out to the public to open this up. So with that, I will wait for my comments about this particular proposal, but would really like to implore everyone on this commission and in County Board of Supervisors and the City Council, please open up these meetings to the public, or at least have a location where people who are disadvantaged technologically can assemble and participate. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And both this commission and the MCOG commission follow and use the supervisory chambers for our meetings. So as soon as they open to the public, I'm sure our commission will also be quite willing to reopen to the public at that time. And any further, I see another hand raised, or was that 1689 yours, sir?
That was the same one, Tony. He's
right,
on
thank
video and on telephone for the audio, I think. So
All right,
if you
thank
could
you
hit
for your comment.
*6 to take the hand down, that would be great.
Okay, we have a motion, I believe, on the consent calendar before us. So if we can have clerk hold the vote, please.
Certainly. Commissioner Fronberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Ignacio,
Yes.
Commissioner McGorty,
Yes.
Commissioner Mulhern,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Chair Orth.
Yes,
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
thank you, Clerk Meadows. With that, we move on to the protest hearing. The protest hearing and determination of the value of written protests and oral protests today for the Ukiah Valley Fire District change of organization to annex the city limits of the city of Ukiah for fire services. File A 2021-2 is now open. And I will turn this over to EO Hinman to give the descriptor, the background, and then we'll move into hearing the protests.
Thank you, Chair Orth. I'm going to give a brief overview of the process again for anyone who is just now entering the meeting. And then I will hand it over to our analyst, Larkin Filer, who will give a summary of the staff report and process today. At the October 4th, 2021 LAFCO meeting, the Commission approved the annexation of the city of Ukiah into the Ukiah Valley Fire District. The approval triggered a 30-day reconsideration period, followed by a protest hearing. The protest hearing is conducted to allow registered voters and landowners within the affected territory the opportunity to reverse LAFCO's decision. The purpose of today's hearing is limited to receiving and counting written protests and withdrawals. Public comments will be accepted when the chair opens the public hearing, and Chair Orth will invite public comment. Please use the raise hand function to indicate your interest in addressing the commission. Again, for those accessing by computer or smartphone, the raise hand function may be selected by clicking or tapping on the icon. For members accessing by telephone, *9 on your keypad raises the hand. Each member of the public wishing to speak will have 3 minutes. A 20-second warning will be given towards the end, and at 3 minutes, the speaker will be muted. When called upon, please unmute yourself and state your name for the record. If participating by Zoom, please unmute by clicking the microphone icon. If participating by telephone, please unmute by pressing *6. If you are also watching the live stream via the county's YouTube channel, please remember there is a 10 to 20-second delay, so when called upon, please mute the YouTube stream to avoid feedback noise. As a reminder, the application has been approved by the Commission, and the merits of the application will not be discussed during today's hearing. No such testimony may be considered by the Commission in this proceeding. The Commission cannot respond to comments as the proposed purpose of this hearing is limited to accepting protest and withdrawal of protests. The number of protests received will determine whether the application is terminated, ordered to an election, or ordered without an election. As allowed by Government Code Section 57050, any person who has filed a written protest may withdraw that protest at any time prior to the conclusion of the hearing. No protests or withdrawals will be accepted after today's hearing is closed. No postmarked, faxed, or emailed protests may be accepted. There is a drop box available in the front lobby of the Ukiah Valley Conference Center, where our office is located, for submitting written protests until the close of today's hearing. And with that, I will hand that over to our analyst, Larkin Filer.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So in preparation for this public hearing, staff complied with a minimum 21-day public notice requirement. This public noticing was completed by Monday, October 18th, 2021, and included the following steps. We published in the Ukiah Daily Journal newspaper. And because of the number of notices required to be sent, registered voters exceeded 1,000, and so we were not required to mail to registered voters. We instead did a larger publication pursuant to Government Code Section 56157H. We did a mailing to landowners because the annexation would result in the extension of any previously authorized special tax or benefit assessment to the affected territory. pursuant to Government Code Section 57025E. We also did a mailing or emailing to the applicant and interested and affected agencies and individuals on our list. We also posted on the Commission's website under the Public Notices section. We posted at the Mendocino County Public Bulletin Board outside the Board of Supervisors chambers, and we also posted on our office door. I want to note that mailed notices that were returned to sender with a forwarding address were remailed upon receipt as a courtesy, which is not required by law and was deemed properly noticed upon original mailing. I do want to note that the applicant has prepared a frequently asked questions document to address common questions related to the protest hearing process for the district annexation. It can be found on page 17 of the packet and is also available on the City of Ukiah's website on their projects and information page. There is a number of steps to this public hearing process. The first step is to summarize resolution number 2021-22-03, making determinations and approving the district annexation subject to terms and conditions pursuant to Government Code Section 57050B. The second step of the process includes receiving oral and written protests. The Commission will receive both oral and written protests during this hearing today. And while verbal comments can be provided, they do not count towards determining the value of written protests. And then the final step is determining the value of written protests. LAFCO staff will determine the value of written protests received and not withdrawn by the close of the protest hearing today, pursuant to Government Code Section 57075. The Commission will consider a resolution ordering annexation if insufficient written protests exist, or otherwise will direct staff to return with written results at a later date. And just to reiterate the thresholds for those protests, if written protest is less than 25%, the Commission approval stands. If written protest is more than 25% but less than 50%, then a vote of the people follows. And if written protest exceeds 50%, then the annexation proceeding is terminated. And just to read the specific language from the Government Code section, the two thresholds that apply today are at least 25% of the registered voters residing in the affected territory, and at least 25% of the number of owners of land who also own at least 25% of the assessed value of land within the affected territory. The official total number of registered voters and landowners in the annexation area is as follows. There are 8,949 registered voters with a 25% threshold of 2,238, subject to the hearing today. Regarding landowners, there are 4,986 landowners with a 25% threshold of 1,247, and the land value is roughly $538 million with a 25% threshold of roughly $134 million. I will now read provide a summary of resolution number 2021-2203. The Commission approved the Ukiah Valley Fire District change of organization to annex the city limits of the city Ukiah for fire services on October 4th, 2021 by resolution number 2021-22-03, which sets forth a description of the change of organization and the terms and conditions of approval. The following is a summary of the resolution. At its October 4th, 2021 regular meeting, the Commission, having considered all relevant factors and heard all interested parties wishing to speak regarding the proposal, determined that the proposal was exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Public Resources Code Section 21065 and then Title 14 of the California Code of Regulations, Code Section 15306, 15378A, 15061B3, 15261, 15301, 15320. And the Ukiah Valley Fire District change of organization to annex the city limits of the city of Ukiah for the fire services was also found to be consistent with the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Local Government Reorganization Act of 2000 and local policies. The commission approved the proposal on a vote of 6-1 and subject to the following terms and conditions. A, the annexation area boundary is defined by the proposal map. B, the district parcel taxes measure J and B shall be levied in the entire annexation area. C, the 2020 amended and restated agreement for shared management of fire departments between the district and the city of Ukiah shall be fully implemented. And D, the city of Ukiah maintains all of its rights and obligations for administering emergency medical services. And that concludes step 1 of summarizing the resolution of the commission approving the annexation. And we are moving on to step 2, which is opening the protest hearing portion for verbal comments. And I will turn it back to you, Uma.
Thank you. Chair Orth.
I will open the protest hearing for public comments today at 10:28 a.m. And Uma, if you will bring forward the first speaker.
Thank
And
you.
it's important to, again, state your name and the information needed to lodge a protest. Thank you.
So as a reminder, if you wish to speak, please raise your hand by selecting the icon or by *9 on your keypad, and we will call upon you. And once you hear your name or the last 4 numbers of your phone number, you may address the commission. We have Chair Orth, would you like me to call or would you?
If you would, because I can't see the waiting room.
Okay, thank you. Everyone is in the meeting, so we have no members of the public in the waiting room. However, let's call on the phone number with the last 4 digits of 3808. You may unmute and address the commission. Please mute your YouTube live stream if that is on.
My name is Leonard Winter. I'm CEO of MedStar Ambulance. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so after reading the Ukiah Valley Fire District Service Review Sphere of Influence update that was prepared for LAFCO on September 13th, on page 145, we continue to this day to hear that they're going to hire 10 firefighters, which is probably needed. But if you read the last paragraph on page 145 of that report that they sent to LAFCO, I will read you that last paragraph. It says the Ukiah Valley Fire Association is budgeted for staffing increase of 10 full-time equivalent employees in the fiscal year of 2021 and 22, which accounts for 4 new firefighters. I repeat, 4 new firefighters and 6 new ambulance operators, EMTs and paramedics not trained as firefighters. That became a big concern to us. I mean, we hear all the time that they need these 30-some firefighters, but they're only going to hire 4 firefighters and 6 ambulance staffing people. You know, while we all know that the the effects of this, while the effects of this property, the property owners and the residential and commercial rentals will likely be impacted the long term through the higher property taxes that are likely to be passed on to them in higher rents or higher leases in future years. It's gonna happen. But you know, everybody talks about this $120 over the last several years. Before the COVID-19, we had seniors. MedStar is a nonprofit corporation. We have a program that
tonight, and then they get stuck in there like glue.
So MedStar has a hardship program, and over the last several years, we have many seniors that did come in here before the COVID-19, and now they call us, and
20
we do
seconds.
hardship programs for these people. Usually on a Medicare, which is a senior rate, we receive about $700. With the remainder of the 20%, Medicare pays us 80%, and 20% is owed to us by the seniors. That 20% comes out to about $120,000 to $140,000.
That's 3
I
minutes.
have seniors.
3 minutes is up. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to the commission? Mr. Winters, please, if you could lower your hand, please. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to the commission? Please raise your hand. Please raise your hand using *9 on your keypad or by clicking on the icon.
I am pressing *9, but it's not coming up.
We see and hear you, so you are available to be recognized.
Okay, my name is John Rarick, and I speak on behalf of myself and fellow landowners. In today's hyperinflation environment, it's really incredulous to me that government just keeps on pressing more and more and more money. And without any adequate representation, Ms. Mulheron has refused to answer basic questions. As I told Ms. Hinman in the hallway, trying to get the commission to open up this meeting to the public, she's been very responsive to my questions about the dynamics of this. To expect the public to be able to go through 400 pages of these analyses in 21 days is just not reasonable. Having closed meetings is not reasonable to allow people to assemble under their First Amendment rights, to assemble, then to be able to petition their representatives in their government for adequate input into the business of the people. I don't know how many people are on here are related to the government, but I would suspect that just about everyone is some way, shape, or form funded by the government. And people like myself and other landowners, we don't have the resources and the staff and the money to be able to voice our opposition to these types of power and money grabs. You know, you can't keep track of every single thing going on in the city and the county, but all of a sudden you hear a wind come out that this thing is going to come up, and it's kind of too little too late, because the volume of information that's already been put out is just that. It's huge, and it's very, very extensive. And it's just not right what you're doing. It's not right to take money from people, especially the city council of Ukiah. Those flyers directly state that renters won't be taxed, and that's not true. They may not be directly taxed, but they will be indirectly taxed. And in today's hyperinflation environment, where gas is doubling, food is doubling, all of these costs are going up. And why? Why are you guys doing this? It's not adequately explained why you need more money. Most likely because of mismanagement. most likely because there's sweetheart deals between special interests. I mean, for instance, and no offense, I really appreciate what Ms. Hinman has done, but she's getting $15,000 to run this. Why isn't there a
50
fund
seconds.
for the taxpayers of $15,000 to hire an attorney, hire a consulting firm, hire experts to be able to review all this? No, nothing. We pay and pay and pay and pay, and you guys just seem to take and take and take, and then you close. There's other issues that are associated with this,
3
but they're not
minutes.
part of this protest.
That's 3 minutes.
Thank you.
The caller ending in 3424. You have your hand raised. Please unmute.
3424, you're recognized.
Hopefully
Hello,
I'm
can you hear
still
me?
speaking, because I don't know, I just got a message on my computer that I was muted. But anyways,
Sir,
oh,
your 3 minutes
took my
are
3
up.
minutes, so incredible.
Caller 3424.
Hello.
Yes,
Hi, can you hear me?
yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Leah Burgum, and I am the Director of Administration with MedStar. And I wanted to chime in and reiterate just what Leonard was trying to say, that the point MedStar was trying to make with our campaign was, of course, for the taxes that the taxpayers are going to incur, but also the service that we provide, we do not receive any tax money for that. And I read the letter to the editor that the city attorney wrote, that he was adamant that the city had no interest in the ambulance service. And I know that that is dishonest. And the hiring of single role, only trained as paramedic ambulance operators is a huge factor in that. And that is people that are being hired not as firefighters for the fire department. And then also the city of Ukiah did an ambulance feasibility study. I think it was approved in late 2019, and they spent close to $70,000 on an ambulance feasibility study for Mendocino County that MedStar was not invited to, originally invited to, and then was uninvited to. And we have never seen that study. That has never been released. So I just wanted to reiterate what Leonard said, was trying to say was that we believe firmly that the city of Ukiah is trying to go into the ambulance business again. And we provide a service, a nonprofit ambulance company that's been here for a very, very long time, that does not cost the people of Ukiah, not even just Ukiah, but we serve a lot of other areas. We are currently in Willits, Potter Valley, Redwood Valley, and that is at no cost to the taxpayers. Thank you.
And moving on to our next speaker.
Ms. Burgum, if you could please lower your hand with the *9. Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to address the commission? Please raise your hand. Again, that is *9, or use the icon. I see no hands raised. If there's anyone wishing to address the commission, now is the time. Chair Orth, we have no hands raised to speak.
Okay, I've been waiting the 20 seconds for people to do so, because I know there's that time lag. Okay. There's no further members of the public wishing to come forward to speak to the commission today
We have
during
just
this protest hearing. Yes,
admitted one person from the waiting room, so perhaps we could see if she wishes to speak.
all right, thank you.
This is a last call for public comment for the protest hearing. Person who recently entered the meeting, if you would wish to speak, please raise your hand using the icon on the Zoom meeting or *9 on your keypad. I see no hands raised to speak.
Okay, I have a question for our council. Scott?
Yes.
No, Scott Brown. Is it appropriate to continue this hearing or close the hearing at this time to allow us to adjourn to another time to disclose the results of the balloting today?
Yes, you have to close the hearing or, more protests can be received.
All right. Well, thank you. Is there any further public wishing to speak on this matter? Please raise your hand. We'll give you 20 seconds more.
How do you raise your hand?
You've already spoken, sir.
Well, he spoke. Again, you said it's there. I want to clarify, Mr. Brown. Did you say that if you continue, then more protests can be lodged? I didn't hear your legal analysis.
Yes, I said that it's up to them. There are several ways they can continue hearing. They could actually extend the hearing period, or they could merely extend the calculation of the protests.
Thank you.
Okay, we have waited the 20 seconds or more. So at this point, we are going to close the public hearing at 10:44. And staff, did you receive sufficient protests that you would require us to meet again this Wednesday and continue for the purposes of announcing the results?
We'd like to request a 15-minute recess so we can check the Dropbox and take an estimate of how many we have and how long that might take us.
Okay, then we will.
Before we go,
yes,
you might ask a question, please.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So my question is, in 15 minutes, are you going to be able to assess the worth of? Because I believe that there was one of the points was it 25% of the assessed worth of properties within the city?
Larkin, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, that is correct, Commissioner Frohnberger. The calculation for landowners involves both the number of landowners and also the a portion of the land value. Correct.
Correct. So my question is, how are you going to get that done in 15 minutes?
Well, it depends exactly on how many protests there are. If they're not even close to 25%, it doesn't take much time at all.
But if they're over 25% of assessed value, that's another reason to hold the election.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, unless you know every single piece of property and their current assessed worth, which is possible, maybe you do know that, or maybe you have access to every single one of them. And that's also assuming that each one of these protest votes has their actual correct and true APN number on it. Is that possible in 15 minutes?
Mr. Chair, may I respond?
Yes, please.
I believe what the executive officer is asking is to allow us 15 minutes to assess how many we have received today, and then we will know better whether we can report it to your commission today or whether we will need to return with those results. Is that helpful?
Thank you.
Yes, it is. And with that, then we'll go into a 15-minute break. It is starting at 10:50. We'll give you until 10:15 to come back. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Is that 11:15, Mr. Chair?
Is that a 25-minute break now?
Excuse me, it's 10:40. Oh, I see. I did add a little bit of time. 15 minutes from 10:50.
11:05, sir.
11:05. Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, sorry about this, but I didn't hear anything that analyst Feeler just said. Again, the technology is just very inconvenient for people trying to gather information in here. I know it's not going to change much right now, but these are the problems that keep on cropping up.
We're taking a 15-minute break while staff assesses the number of votes that have been received in the box outside their door. And they come back in 15 minutes to assess that and report to the commission. So we determine whether we need another meeting to come back with the results, which would be at this point on Wednesday, I believe is what the commission is looking at.
Are we recessed, sir?
We are recessing right now for 15 minutes. await the reemergence of our EO. When EO Hinman is available. We're currently in step 3, the determination of value of written protests.
Chair Orth, we are just waiting for our analyst to return to her laptop, and we'll be just a moment.
Thank you. Okay, Uma, I think we're ready.
Okay, thank you. We did have a chance to count the number of protests received today, and our analyst is going to report out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So we did receive an additional 75 protests during the course of today, and we have calculated everything that we have received up to this point today. And the calculations prior to today fell far below the 25% threshold, both for landowners and for registered voters. So the additional 75 protests we received today, just assuming that they're all valid without reviewing them, would not be sufficient to reach that 25% threshold in either category of landowner or registered voter. So we are recommending that we would proceed with a finding of insufficient protests. Again, that's just assuming that all of the ones that we have received to date during the proceedings today are valid. So without even determining whether they are or are not, just assuming they're all valid, we still would not reach that protest threshold that would be required to initiate an election process.
Okay, with that report, is it for the commission at this point to, by motion, determine an insufficient protest was received and then move to consider resolution 2021-2203?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. So we have accomplished recommendation number 1, which was conducting the protest hearing, and now we are looking at recommendations 2A and 2B, and staff is recommending determination 2A, finding the insufficient protests and adoption of the recommended resolution number 2021-2208, which is on page 22 of the packet.
And with that, I'm looking for thereby a motion by a commissioner to move this forward.
So
I'll
moved.
make second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. This is to approve, to determine insufficient votes. The 25% metric was not met by any of the categories. And with that, then the resolution is now been motioned and discussion. Mr. Commissioner Ward.
Yeah, thank you. What was the percentage, Larkin? It was under 25%, but what's the percentage?
I don't have the actual number because we haven't calculated it all, but prior to the meeting, we had, let me see here. It was 236 landowners, and Uma, I believe you said it was 396 registered voters. Is that correct?
Excuse me, 360 voters before today's protests were received.
So you're looking at probably less than 5%?
Yeah, I think that is a fair calculation.
Okay, recognizing Commissioner Gonzalez.
Do you, as a matter of policy, verify what you've taken in, or at this point that would be moot and you would just assume that they were all valid and determine that that didn't meet the threshold? Is that correct?
Correct, Commissioner Gonzalez. So we have calculated all the ones that we've received to date, which was the bulk of them. I believe we received somewhere on the order of close to 500 protests total. And so we carefully went through all of those and came up with the values just to have an understanding of what, in addition, we received today would calculate to. So we do feel very comfortable with the numbers of the original 500. And so these additional 75 really just are not sufficient to reach over 25% in any category of threshold.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions by commissioners? Members of the public then, raise your hand and be recognized. Excuse me, Commissioner Frontenberger. Go ahead, I recognize you.
Yeah, I don't dispute anything you're saying. And in fact, you know, I'm willing to concede that they're probably correct. But I would say that that it is probably due to the poor advertising, poor public involvement and engagement, that a larger portion of people were not heard today. And I think that following an arbitrary date of some other group to make our decisions, I don't think that that's a prudent way to act. And also, as far as minimum times, they are minimums for a reason. And I understand that we're only held to minimums, but I would say that in order to get community engagement, especially in a time now where you cannot actually see people face to face, and you cannot meet in open forum, that those minimums are woefully inadequate, and that our old-fashioned way of agendizing and advertising and getting in touch with the people is not going to work as long as we're doing this. So thank you for your time.
If I may speak, Commissioner Orth.
Go ahead. You're limited 3 minutes.
Commissioner Fromberger, thank you very much for stating that. As I said, the city council meeting was dropped on last week due to technology. The people of concerned citizens that I have loosely tried to represent and bring forth their issues to the County Board of Supervisors and this commission and the city of Ukiah, it is completely inadequate. I did not get notice of this until I got the notice 21 days prior to this protest hearing. So I had absolutely no time to organize to get it out. And like I had mentioned before, everyone on here gets paid lots of money. You have lawyers, there's 2 lawyers I have here, city council people, and it's like, where's the fairness? Literally, where is the fairness where the deck is so heavily stacked against the public? As a matter of fact, in my conversations with Ms. Hinman, it was about registered voters and non-registered voters. Well, they weren't part of it. They weren't communicated to, and the city of Ukiah, the council actually lied to them by saying you won't be taxed, which they will be taxed. So you've excluded 1/3 of the potential population of people here. And I think that just based upon that, the Knox Act is unconstitutional. It doesn't allow people proper notice. And yeah, it's ramrodded through. To have someone, a member of the public, go through 300-400 pages and be able to articulate to their neighbors who are disenfranchised to begin with and don't pay attention to government because of this stuff. This is why, because it's overwhelming against the taxpayer and the public, because out of what, 32 participants, how many of these people are actually government? I think Mr. Leaf is one who wrote the letter, myself, and I don't know about some of these other names, but I would suspect that probably 25 out of the 32 participants are government people promoting more government and an increased cost of government. And, you know, I hope the people wake up. I think that they are. The political climate is changing. I hope people do wake up. But, you know, this is not right. It is not right to do in this methodology. And thank you, Commissioner Fronenberg, for mentioning that, because I think that that should be echoed and this should be continued so that my group and people have, and you should give us money so we can advertise, so we can go out. You didn't go to Mendocino Patriots. There's lots of groups on Facebook and stuff that are trying to get heard by government and getting shut down, excluded. So thank you for those comments, Commissioner Fronenberg. It really, every one of you in government should be echoing that. Thank you.
Are there any other commissioners? First, Mr. Ward, you've already spoken. I'll come back to you. Any other commissioners? Okay, Commissioner Ward, go ahead. Oh, excuse me, Commissioner Ignacio.
Are we discussing the motion on the board, or are we reopening the public hearing?
This is the motion for the resolution that we are discussing.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ward?
Yeah, thank you, Tony. I just wanted to make a comment about the MedStar. I brought it up during the meeting that was concerned that MedStar would be going out of business, and I'm hoping that the city and the district will continue to keep MedStar in business. They have been there a long, long time, and we'll obviously be watching it in the future with our future MSR reports, but I'm hoping that that will continue. Although some of the public doesn't believe that may happen. So, and that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Any other commissioners? Members of the public? Just raise your hand. Waiting the required 20 seconds. Commissioner Roden?
You know, I want to commend staff for following the law exactly, you know, the way that it's written so that people have notice. We sent out notices. We even went beyond, as Analyst Feller was saying, in terms of returned envelopes being sent back out again. But I think, you know, a lot of intelligent residents of the city of Ukiah still have questions. I think the comment is really that maybe when this is all over, that we could talk about maybe this is something for LAFCO or maybe something for the applicants to consider, which is in plain English, how could people understand more clearly what's happening? I think if they did understand, they would be supportive of this annexation. I think that this is the right thing to have the most efficient services, fire and medical services to the Ukiah Valley. I think this is the right thing to do, but I think a lot of the residents of the city of Ukiah feel ambushed. And I don't think it's because we did anything wrong necessarily, but maybe are things we could be more proactive about, or the applicants could be more proactive about, so residents in the city understand what's happening more clearly. So, Yeah, so that's my comment. Thank you.
Any more comments from commissioners to the resolution? We've already heard you, sir.
Unbelievable. We'll make a motion, Ms. Roden, to continue the hearing so that public can have a fair opportunity.
Chair, are we operating this meeting? What's the protocol here, please?
Are there any further hands from members of the public who have yet to speak?
No hands are raised.
All right, and we've given the time for hands to rise, and we've heard from the speakers who wish to speak for their 3 minutes. So we'll call the motion, and Clerk Meadows.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Fronberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Mulhern,
Yes.
Commissioner McGorty,
Yes.
Commissioner Ignacio,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Chair Orth.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you, Commission, for being here today. Members of the public, we have actually heard you. The City of Ukiah and the Fire District will be moving forward. I'll be sure they'll be describing the service levels they'll be providing to their residents. So thank you. And to staff for a long process. Commissioner Farnberger.
Yeah, could I just have staff read the actual motion for 2A so that it's an understood statement to the public? Because I think that I've just got 2 messages says that why did you vote for that? And they don't understand exactly what we just voted on.
Go ahead, E.O. Henman.
The recommendation for 2A was after the close of the protest hearing, if it is determined that insufficient written protests were received by landowners and registered voters within the City of Ukiah prior to the close of the protest hearing, adopt resolution number 2021-2208, finding insufficient protest and ordering without an election the Ukiah Valley Fire District change of organization to annex the city limits of the City of Ukiah for fire services pursuant to Government Code Section 57075A3.
Thank you.
And with that, let's go to the roll call. We already did the roll call. So I'm looking for a motion to adjourn to our next meeting, which is December 6th at 9 a.m.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. And with that, no vote is required. So we are adjourned, and thank you all for being here today.